Hi all your aspirants, welcome to my session. So how to stay motivated and focused in your civil service preparations. You must have noticed in your own preparations that when you start studying for your civil services, you're full of energy, you want to start with your preparations and you have so much of resolutions up in your head. But few days into your preparations, you must have noticed that you slack behind. No, please don't think that you're not smart enough to clear the examinations. You are, and you proved it to yourself once by going for the attempt and going for the preparations. So why does this happen? Why do you slack behind after few days into your preparations? Maybe you lack in motivations or your study technique may not be right. And civil service examinations is the most toughest exam in the nation. No, I'm not trying to scare you, but we need to get into the details and understand why we lack in motivations and why we are losing focus while we attempting the civil service preparations. So let's get into it one by one. So the first pressure point that you need to look into it, all the essential requirements or the tangible tools or equipments that you need for civil service preparations. So the first essential requirement or the tool that you need for civil service preparations is a study space or a study table. You need a clutter-free study space. And the next one is good internet connectivity. That is, we don't have to invest so much into your preparations by getting all these books hardbound copies. Sometimes a good internet connections will bridge all the gaps. And the next point is get all your recommended basic standard books, that is your NCRTs from 6th to 12th and all your basic reference books. And one thing that we have to keep in mind is that you are not a bookseller, so do not hoard books up in your cupboard and you wouldn't need books more than necessary. Study and thoroughly cover all the books that you have right now and then get on to the next book. And the next is, I often heard aspirants complaining that UPSC are going to ask questions from everything and anything under the sun. No, they're not going to do that. So the best thing that you could do is get the syllabus from the official website and get a printout and stick it onto your wall of your study space. And this is something that you have to use as a Bible and as a marker. Study everything and anything which is asked from the syllabus and do not study which is outside your syllabus. And UPSC examinations will only ask questions pertinent to your syllabus. So let's get that right now itself. And the next important tool that you need to clear your civil service examinations are your newspaper or your current affairs. You could either go for the printout versions or your online subscriptions. I have both, but I really prefer the printed ones of newspapers because it's so more convenient and I could just mark it on the newspaper itself. And there is no point in covering all the static points, all the static informations without knowing your current affairs. So current affairs is the most important part of your syllabus. So get that right in your head right now. And yes, lastly, the most important part of your civil service preparation or your tool is your study planner or your schedule. You could either watch this link above or you could have your own study schedule or your study planner. But without your proper planner, you cannot clear your civil service preparations. You need to have an idea or an iota of how you're going about it. So that's it for the tools or requirements that you need for your civil service preparations. And the next pressure point for clearing your civil service preparations are your strategies or your techniques. And let's get into the first one now itself. That is, instead of having all these long planners and long schedules, have these mini goals or mini planners. That is, humans need immediate gratification for us to be motivated. Suppose you have a very short goal and once you achieve it, that will motivate you beyond your measures. According to human psychology, once you find your task very much overwhelming, this will demotivate you. So how do you eat an elephant? One piece at a time. So have short-term study goals and study on the immediate concepts. And once you're with the concept, focus on the small and immediate goals. And do not stress yourself with all the worries of the world. Take one step at a time and we will cross a bridge once we get there. And the third pressure point that you need to look into is what you shouldn't do for your civil service preparations. And the first point is self-doubt and underestimating yourself. And what I have found in all these aspirants is that they underestimate so much of themselves and they overestimate their schedules and planners. That is, while making your schedules and planners, do not add on lot many to-do points for a single day. Keep it for the next day. Always have a trial and test method for a week at least and then have necessary changes and requirements according to it. And one thing I would like to point out is that suppose you miss a day in your planner. That is, we are all humans and we are all bound to our own emergencies and our own requirements and priorities. And suppose you miss a day, do not stack it on the next day. That is, do not add on these tasks to the next day. You missed it, fine, just leave it as such. But get on to the next day, do the task of those days. Do not worry about the previous task, we'll get on to it on the next round. And the next pressure point that you need to clear your civil service preparations is what you should be doing for clearing your civil service preparations. And the first point I would like to point out is waking up early and going to bed early. You cannot have a consistent study planner without having a consistent sleeping pattern, and for that you need to, or you have to, get up early or go to bed early. And the next point is make civil service preparations your number one priority. That is, when you wake up, civil service preparation should be the first point or the first thought that comes into your mind. It doesn't matter what you are. You could be a working professional or a student or a housewife or someone else being engaged into something else. Even if you just get 2 hours a day to prepare, civil service should be your first thought or the first element that comes to your mind when you wake up. You should have a constant thought in your mind that you are an aspirant of civil service examinations. And one thing about UPSC is that they're looking for the officers among the students and not the other way around. So just believe, understand and know the fact that you are going to be the next IAS officer. So you have to walk like one, behave like one and talk like an IAS officer. And whenever I get demotivated in my studies, and what I do is that I visualize an image in my mind. That is me sitting as an IAS officer in my office, in my IAS cabinet. And the other thing that I do is that my desktop background that you see right now is the LBSNA. That is the IAS Training Academy. Once you get selected for the civil service IAS, you will be sent to this academy for your civil service training. And whenever I open my computer, this is what I see, the desktop wallpaper. And I am determined that I will be sitting on that chair, LBSNA, someday, and I will post the pictures in social media and show you all. So this is my motivation. I have that image in my mind after being clearing for civil services and then sitting on the chair of the LBSNA, and I will make it there, and you could also make it there, and it is possible for all of us. So all the best for you all, and I really wish that you'll all be able to focus and be motivated in your studies. And yes, this is like 1.5 years long preparations. So each day we have to make a decisions to be an IAS officer, and you will be an IAS officer. So all the best, you're all.